Hello everyone, I'm Apocalypse the Geek Guru, and today I'm going to be talking about Halo the TV series. If you could even call it that. I mean, they just keep destroying Halo. The only good thing to come out of this show is the fact that I'm replaying Halo. That's it. That's the only good thing, is that like it makes me want to go and play Halo, because the Halo games are just a completely way better story. Which I'll probably do a review of those at some point. Like I'll probably do a little thing. I'll probably do a playthrough of those. Okay, let's get into this absolute dumpster fire. So the show starts off on Reach, 22 years ago. I remember Reach is the planet where the Spartans were created. It was the head of the Spartan program, and apparently it also seems to be where everybody is at. Like, which I don't think that's how it was. No, Earth is like the main military base of the UNSC. Reach is just a colony. It's a big military. It's like colony. Like they have a lot of military stuff there, but it is also it's not like their main place. So I don't get why everything is there. At least I don't think so. But so anyway, it opens up on Reach, and the Master Chief sneaks out super easily. I mean, I get he's a Spartan, but there's like no. This is where they're keeping the Spartans, like their most valuable military asset, really. And there's no guards. There's no security. There's nothing. He gets over the fence, and one thing I would like them to show is him like getting over the fence and how easily he could climb it, but they just show him drop down, which is fun. And he sees this dude. He sees another Spartan, like leaving, and he goes up to Spartan. Apparently, they were both going to leave, but John, Spartan 117, he backed out and decided no. And it's important to point out, the Spartan 066, Soren, he as far as I know, he didn't exist in the books. He's a new character, which is not surprising. Now, it's important to point out, he shows that he is deformed. His hand is all like messed up. He shouldn't have Mjolnir armor then. Like, if that's the case, if he's one of the people that got deformed during the surgeries, he shouldn't have Mjolnir armor. He would have been, because he's not okay for combat. He has a deformity, a disability. He's not okay for combat. So they took him. They would have taken him and made him like something with administrative, or like given him like he'd be in charge of tactics or something like that. He wouldn't be on the battlefield, so he wouldn't have Mjolnir armor. So he shouldn't have Mjolnir armor. I just want to point that out and get that out of the way. So anyway, John gives him 5 minutes. He's like, all right, I'll let you run off, but I'm only gonna give you 5 minutes. Blah blah blah. So then it cuts to him and Master Chef and Short Round are on the ship, and they're flying through hyperspace, and she's just like, oh, how fast are we going? And he starts to actually try to explain what they're doing and how they're not actually moving fast and all this, and she just cuts him off and is just like, oh, you're ruining it. It's just like, oh, shut up, let the man talk. Like, Jesus Christ. So they go and they pop out of hyperspace into an asteroid field. Why? Because they did it on Star Wars. But anyway, like literally, that's the only they were like, hey, let's have a cool like space thing, which Halo really doesn't have. Like, it's more on the ground stuff. So anyway, okay, but that's a little bit later. First, we see Lord Hood, who is from the games, talking to Dr. Halsey. Now, one thing that I just noticed when I was watching this, because I was paying more attention, because on the first episode, I couldn't even watch it sober. I was like, I need a drink for this. So I just kind of noticed they got the woman who actually voices Cortana. They were like, hey, let's get the actual actress. Which, why wouldn't they just do that for Steve Downes too, for Master Chief, whatever. So they're like, okay, let's actually get the woman who voices Cortana. But then let's give her a British accent. Why? Cortana's not Brit. Cortana in the games does not have a British accent. This show is messing with my head. Like, oh my god. So her and Lord Hood are talking, blah blah blah. I honestly can't even remember what they were talking about. Something about she's got a plan or whatever to deal with the Master Chief. And he's just like, all right, well, we're gonna have to tell the council about it. Whatever. I don't care. I cannot be bothered to even give half a wet shit about this show. I really can't. So then it cuts to the Spartans who have their helmets off, which it's not just the Master Chief that doesn't take his helmet off. Like the Spartan 2s, they also like never take their helmets off. And I think this just goes to show how little Paramount knows. I feel like they've mixed up the Spartan 2s with the Spartan 4s. The Spartan 4s were different. They were like volunteers. They were more dude bros, and they had, they always taking their helmets off and shit. They were real vain. They were stupid, prone to emotional outbursts and everything. And that's what they're trying to make the Spartan 2s out to be. It's like, no, you're mixing it up. They're not the same. So they're sitting there with their helmets off, which again, they shouldn't be doing that. Like that pisses me off so much. So blah blah blah. And this is when they come out into an asteroid field again. Why? Because they did it in Star Wars. Because we've dropped out of hyperspace into an asteroid field. That is literally what happens. So he's got to navigate through, and of course, the Master Chief is a great pilot. And they come to what has to be the stupidest looking base I've ever seen. Like, I'm sure someone thought, like, oh, this looks so cool. But when you act like, look at this mess. It's an asteroid with like all these other like things and everything attached, like cables and stuff. And it's like, I'm sure someone's like, oh, this looks so cool. And it's like, this makes no sense. Why would you have all these cables? They can get so tied up and so, like, no, what? This is stupid. So, here's the thing. This is supposed to be a, like, sort of like refugee outpost. This is not a military UNSC installation. This is a rebel thing, like the guys from the first episode. This is people who are running from the UNSC. And yet somehow the Master Chief is just able to fly a standard issue UNSC ship into this place without nobody noticing or raising any sort of alarm. No one's like, holy crap, it's the UNSC. Nope, he just flies up UNSC green right to the freaking airlock. And then he just walks out. And here's the thing, this is one of the few times where he actually has his helmet on. And it's so annoying because it's like I hate the fact that he actually does look cool with the helmet on. He actually does seem to have and sort of carry himself with a presence of the Master Chief, showing that at least the actor in the freaking Sheev Schreiber or whatever the hell, Pablo Pascal, whatever the hell his name is, obviously understands like the presence that the Master Chief should have when he's walking around in his armor. And it's so annoying. It's like, then don't take the helmet off. So they walk into this place, and they walk into Mos Eisley. Not even kidding. It's a wretched hive of scum and villainy. So he walks in, and everybody points their gun at him. And, they're like, oh, it's a Spartan. Holy crap. And they do have one sort of funny scene where someone tries to stop him with like a forklift full of stuff, like full of crates. And, they push it in his way because he's like walking down this alley. And everybody starts laughing like, we stopped it. We put something in his way. And then he just kind of walks in front of it and just pushes it back. And you hear the tires screeching like, and it's like, that was kind of cool. Like showing that he's strong. And not only that, he is not daunted. He's got about like 15 people pointing guns at him. And he's just like, all he's armed with right now is a pistol, standard UNSC Magnum. And that's enough. And that's enough to take out all of those people. And then we see the Soren 066 from the beginning. Didn't think he was going to show up again. So he pops in and he's just like, all right, everybody stand down. If he wanted you dead, you'd be dead already. It's like, yeah, straight up. So him and Short Round follow Soren, who has someone put a jacket on him, because he can't, he's got to have like this cloak or whatever. I don't know. And he's just walking around telling him like, "Oh, hey, this and that. We're living out here. Blah 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 blah." I really just don't care. I don't care. So he's just like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you to my family, and we're gonna talk." And we get to his family, and we meet his wife, who's not like the blonde girl from Fantastic Beasts at all. Not at all. Didn't see any sort of parallels to her. And he's got a kid, which it's been over over 10 years since I read the books. So I'm pretty sure I remember that the Spartans are supposed to be sterile, which like chemically sterilized. So there shouldn't be any way that he should have a kid. And he makes a point later on. It's like, oh, I forget exactly what he says, but it's something like, oh, you only have to, those only, the stuff that they did to us only affects us if we wanted to. And it's like, dude, they put titanium on your bones. You can't just, and like hormone, like pellets and stuff, like to stop hormones, like, so you don't get emotions. And I think he does mention that he had that like taken out, okay, fine. So that explains why you can feel emotions and stuff. But that shouldn't explain why you're not still sterile. Like, and if he would have just said, like, yeah, if, because the Master Chief goes, "Oh, you've got a kid?" And, he says something like, "Yo, yeah, blah, 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 I don't even care." But if all they had to do was be like, "Yeah, I might not be able to have some of my own, but that doesn't mean I can't take care of others," That's all, something like that. It was all they would have needed to do so it's like, okay, this isn't his biological son, but he does take care of it like a son. That's all they needed to do. Because I think they did something like that in Halo Nightfall. Did they, or did he have his own kids? I can't remember. It's been a while since I saw that too. But I'm pretty sure Spartans should be sterile, and I don't see how that was a reverse. Did they just give him a vasectomy? Like, is that it? So then we cut back to High Charity, which I mentioned before in my last video that it had some sort of stupid thing on the top. Well, I was replaying Halo 2, and it actually does have that. I still think it looks stupid, but I just don't like the way High Charity looks in this. I don't know. Let me show you. These, like, it looks like a stem or like pet, like, or something. I don't know. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't look as good as it did in the game. I don't think so. So we get to High Charity, and the woman who, for some reason, is basically in charge of the Covenant is talking to an elite, and they're all in the chamber, in the freaking chamber of the hierarchs, the high prophets. And she start asking the elite, if he saw what he saw, because apparently this is the same elite that saw the Master Chief activate the Forerunner artifact. So then she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check out Madrigal or wherever, I think." And the prophets are just like, "Oh no, you can't go there. It's too dangerous." So she starts yelling at the prophets, like, "Who's like, I can do this? Like, I can blend in because I'm a human." And it's like, "Yeah, I'm sure you could. You also shouldn't be there. She shouldn't exist in this show at all." Like, oh my god. So anyway, she starts yelling at the prophets and is like, "I'm going to go do this. I'm in charge. Blah, 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 blah." So then it cuts to the council meeting, and they're all talking about the Master Chief and, like, what to do. And Captain Keyes is just like, "Oh, if we're going to catch the Master Chief, where he's going to be punished." And not Catherine Halsey steps up, and she's just like, "Oh, I've got a plan, We're going to make Cortana. We're going to make this artificial intelligence that's going to be able to, like, override the Master Chief," which isn't what Cortana is. It's like an AI assistant. Yes, I do believe that she is capable of taking control and controlling his suit systems and even reacting to stuff. Like, she helps out his reacting time and processing stuff. But I'm not sure that she's able to completely take control of him. And he does actually have, like, basically a disk drive in the back of his head. So Cortana does actually plug right into his head. But so does, like, I think every naval officer in the UNSC is supposed to have like some sort of slot thing in their head. I could be wrong. So Lord Hood, who he actually plays him, he actually does a pretty good job. He seems a bit like they're trying to make him a bit more sinister, like this, like sort of like, oh, corrupt general or whatever guy. But which is not what he is in the video games. In the games, he's a stand-up guy. You know, he's typical good admiral dude. So he asks the other admiral, like, hey, you know, you're in charge of Dr. Halsey's division. You know, do you agree with what we should, you know, with her idea? And she's just like, yeah, I think we should test it out on the Master Chief. And then it cuts to the guy from the first episode who's now taking control of the planet Madrigal. I really don't care. I don't get why they're like, why this is even a storyline. Like, I don't care what about Madrigal, about what's going on. So, but it's a pretty interesting scene because he's walking around like executing these people. It's pretty graphic, and you know, there's like no fights in this episode though, which was stupid. So I guess they're like, oh, we gotta do something graphic. So he shoots out a camera. What's irritating though is that the gun he's using is like, it doesn't look like a gun from the games. Although I guess these guys aren't UNSC, so they wouldn't have standard issue UNSC weaponry, so I guess that makes sense. And apparently the camera that he shot, Short Round is watching a live feed of it. Which I defy you to tell me how she's not like Short Round. I defy you. So she's sitting there with not the blonde girl from Fantastic Beasts. And she's just talking. And I love how she's just like, I know how you feel. And Short Round's just like, do you? And she's just like, yeah, I lost my entire family and my entire planet when I was a little bit younger than you. And all Short Round can do is just be like, look away from her and like start pouting, basically. So I like that. It's like, yeah, you're not the only person in the freaking universe who's lost something. Like, the Master Chief lost his entire childhood. So many people have, like, so many planets have been just glassed over. Like, literally, I think I might have explained this in the last episode video, that the Covenant weapons, their ship weapons, when they fire down the ground, they hit the dirt. They literally turn the dirt to glass. Like, because they fire set with such intense heat and stuff. Like, it's called glassing planets. They've turned entire planets just surface up to just glass. It's crazy. So, after that, then it cuts to the Master Chef, who now has all of his armor off, and he's just like in this just kind of like bodysuit or whatever, which is actually what they wear under their armor, but still, it just looks weird. And he's sitting there with Soren, who's not dressed like Kang at all, and they're talking about like, oh, you know, this is where he talks about like, oh, you know, what they did to you doesn't have to matter if you don't let it. Like, it's so stupid. You know, he's telling him like, oh, you know, you need to take that pellet off. You know, take out the pellet. Because that's gonna, you know, and then it's like, you'll see. And I hope to God that they don't do that. Because the Master Chief needs to be a Spartan. He is stoic. He's in control of his emotions and hardly feels any emotions at all. It's so stupid. Like, Cortana even kind of comments on this in Halo 4, which isn't the best one, but it's better than, it's way better than this. So, she's looking at her son, and she's like, you know, I can give you like 1,000 reasons why that son, why I can tell you why that son isn't real, but I can never be able to tell you why it doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't feel real. Basically commenting like, she's an AI, you know, but Cortana is such an advanced AI that she's basically human, you know? So, but the Master Chief is just sitting there, while she's going on this, the Master Chief is just sitting there working on his weapons, getting prepared for like what they're about to do next. And he just like, you know, cocks his gun and stands up, and then she turns around and is like, you know, by the end, she says something like, by the end of this, we're gonna have to figure out which one of us is the machine. And that really, like, the Master Chief is in many ways a killing machine. He's a war machine. you know. And they're sitting there talking, and his wife is sitting there with like this inhaler sort of like, drug thing, and then not Kang hits it, and the wife, she tries to pass it to the short round, and she's just like, what is it? And the wife's just like, clarity. It's like, whatever. And short round's just like, I think I've had enough clarity, and I am so happy that they didn't have the Master Chief hit it. I'm so happy that they didn't pass it to him and him hit, like, do drugs. Like, that was in the sea of shitty decisions, that was a smart one. Like, that was a good idea. So basically, he's still got the Forerunner artifact with him from the last episode, so he's basically telling them that, we need to figure out what this thing is. So then it cuts to the Spartans, who all have their helmets off and are just sitting there like, oh, we're trying to track the chief, blah blah blah. And one of them, the blonde one, she's like really broken up about this. Like, she's just she's too emotional about this for a Spartan 2. And this is what I mean. Like, they act more like Spartan 4s. Which nobody likes. No one likes the Spartan 4s. They're all stupid. So then it cuts to the Admiral lady, and she's talking to Miranda Keyes. And Miranda Keyes, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember Miranda Keyes being like a science officer. She was like a commander. She was a naval commander. She was like in charge of ships and stuff, But here she's just like a scientist. And yeah, this should obviously be a younger version of her, but still, like, she should be like a naval officer, not in charge of like science and stuff. Because it's like they have her in like a naval uniform, but she's a science officer, and essentially she's just telling the Admiral, like, hey, I'm better than Dr. Halsey. You should put me on it. Everything we've done, from camouflage to this and that, it was all me. I did all the work. Blah 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 blah. I'm so great. I'm the bestest ever. I'm better than Dr. Halsey. It's like, shut up. Which is essentially I like how that's basically what the Admiral tells her to. She's like, enough. Yeah, I've had enough being manipulated for today, and walks off and just sends her on her way. So I kind of like that. So then it cuts back to Master Chef, Short Round, and Not Kang. And they're all talking about the Forerunner artifact, and about how it did this. And like, I don't know what it does. I don't know what this and that. And Not Kang is just like, I got a guy. Well, he was captured by the aliens, and then he managed to get away. Which they never explain how a normal human who we see is pretty out of his mind. Now I'm sure that was a result of being, interrogated by the Covenant and stuff. I'm sure they put him through some real torture. But like, still, that doesn't explain how he got off of their ship. Like, in some of the games, you have to save Marines from Covenant ships because you can't just walk away. They have like laser fields. They are guarded by elites and grunts and jackals and hunters. You can't just get off of a Covenant ship. Again, the Master Chief had to rescue He had to rescue Captain Keyes in level 3 of Halo: The Truth and Reconciliation. Oh my god, I just replayed that mission. I'm about to start the cutscene for the silent cartographer. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, they never explain how this dude manages to get off of a Covenant ship. So anyway, they go through and they have this like weird sort of prison full of like, is this their Arkham scene? Like, I swear to God, like, this is their Arkham Asylum scene where they got to go through and see all these crazy people for like no reason. Like, for anyone wondering, this is, as far as I know, they've never had anything like this in the games. I know that they've never had anything like this in the games, but I'm pretty sure that they've not had anything like this in the books. I've read a good few of the books, but not all of them. I've not read all of the books. I would like to though. But so anyway, we get to what's his name? Wrath, whatever, crazy guy, and he's thoroughly insane. Talking about oh, the Blessed One, the Covenant are trying to gather humans to uh, activate Forerunner artifacts, which is actually true. That is actually something from the games, and I believe from the books, is that most of the Covenant aren't capable. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's ever stated that they can't do it, like physically are incapable of activating certain Forerunner things. I mean, in the show, that's what they're saying. Like you have to be like a human and a certain Blessed One human to be able to activate Forerunner stuff. But for the Halo specifically, like the actual Halo rings, they needed a human to activate them. Now, again, I'm not sure if that someone help me, if someone who knows more about the lore than me, let me know if they are literally physically incapable of activating the Halo rings, or if it's something having to do with their religion. Like they can't do it. They have to have somebody up, like a human, push them towards the great journey. So they show the dude the artifact, and there's he tries to activate it, and nothing happens, and he's like, yeah, I knew it, because apparently the Covenant must have tried to have him activate some artifacts or whatever, and it didn't work. So he asked the Master Chief or Master Chef if he's gonna try to help him destroy the Covenant, or if he's helping the Covenant destroy them. He's just like, nah, I'm on your side. Like I'm not helping the Covenant. So the dude it's weird. The dude goes to he's like, all right. Then he goes to hit him with the artifact, and obviously the Master Chief just catches it easily, and it sets off this energy thing, and we see this symbol pop up. Let me show you. We see this symbol pop up, and I think we see a bit of maybe that could just be, I can't tell if that's like the Halo rings or if it's just like some sort of thing. But that symbol in the middle right there, that is actually the Forerunner symbol for Reclaimer, which is what they call like humans, I think, or something. I forget exactly what a Reclaimer is. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so that is actually a symbol from the games. I believe it was seen in, I know for a fact it was seen in Halo 4 a lot. And that's when Cortana explains that this is the Forerunner symbol for Reclaimer. So that is actually a thing from the games, but that the only reason they put stuff like that in there is to make up for all of the crap that isn't in the games or isn't in the books that they put in there. Like right after that, literally like 10 seconds after that scene, it goes to, not even that, it goes into like a cutscene. Again, another cutscene of the Master Chief's life before he was a Spartan. No one cares. Nobody cares what the Master Chief's family life was like before he went into the Spartan program. No one gives a shit. If you wanted to show like a younger version of the Master Chief before he was the Master Chief, then go through the books. The Fall of Reach would be a great example. It shows the Master Chief, this is what I talk about, where I think I talked about this last video, where it goes over how they got, their training and all of this and that. And it's a great book with a great story, and they could have just adapted that. Why do they need to make this? And it's not like people, one of the defenses of this show is just like, oh, you just don't like it because it's an original story. And it's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. Because one, Halo was an original story. Like when it came out, it wasn't based on like anything else. It wasn't, it wasn't like an adaptation of a book or a comic book or anything. No, Halo was an original story, and when it came out, I loved it. So no, and every subsequent game has been an original story, and for the most part, they're all pretty good. I think I mentioned I haven't even finished Halo Infinity. I didn't really care for that one. Halo 5 kind of really sucked. Uh, Mainly because you didn't get to play as the Master Chief for most of the time. That was mainly it. But so anyway, yeah. It has nothing to do with the fact that this is an original story. It's the fact that it's an original story that sucks. Or not even original. It's the fact that it's a story that sucks. And it's nothing to do with the games. The people that made the show have even said, we didn't play the games. We're not, we didn't go off the games. We didn't, we didn't look into it. We just looked into some of the lore and that's it. That's literally it. And it's like, if you don't have respect for the games, if you're not even going to play them, why make a show out of it at first? And again, two, screw you. Like, go to hell. If you're not going to play the games, but you're like, oh, we're just going to use this IP, we're just going to use this property, and then, but we don't care about it, actually. We just want to tell our own story. Go to hell, Paramount. So, he starts asking, the Wrath or whatever, the crazy dude, he's just like, hey, you're one of the blessed ones, you're one of the blessed ones. And the Master Chief has one of the... He has his helmet off the entire time. Like, they go to this, they're going to a place full of, like, crazy people. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to carry my helmet. So anyway, the Master Chief picks this dude up and, like, puts him against the wall. He's like, who am I? What am I? And it's like, that's not the Master Chief. He doesn't flip out and get angry like I am right now. Like, what the hell? Oh. And then he even realizes, like, oh, what am I doing? I need to let go of this guy. Because, yeah, he could totally kill him. Like, he could have put him, like, squished him against that freaking thing. So stupid. So anyway, then they all leave. And the Master Chief's just like, I gotta go back to the UNF, gotta go back to the UFC. I could kick ass in there. So anyway, he's like, I gotta go back to the UNSC, and Matt Kang is just like, oh, you're going back to Dr. Halsey, this and that, blah blah blah. So the Master Chief decides, he's like, I'm leaving, and he makes probably one of the best decisions he's made so far in this series. He tells Short Round to stay there with not Kang, and then he's gonna leave. So if the writers are smart, which they're not, they've already proven that with this first 2 hours of content. If they were smart, in a perfect world, she wouldn't have even been in the show in the first place. But from going forward, they should just leave her out of the show. That should be the last we ever see of her. Except maybe to hear that the Rubble, which is that's what I forgot to mention. That's the name of their little base, the Rubble. Because they couldn't call it the Rock, because that's been used way too much time. Like, way too much. So they're like, oh, let's call it the Rubble. So stupid. But yeah, the last we see of her should be her watching him leave. That should be it. Like, again, she shouldn't be in the show at all. So the Master Chief, he leaves on the Condor, and then he turns on his... I forgot to mention that the Spartans are on a ship called Stalwart Dawn, because it can't be called Forward Unto Dawn, which is the name of the ship from the games. It's got to be called Stalwart Dawn. Now, yes, Forward Unto Dawn was captained by Miranda Keyes, so it wouldn't. I don't even know if that ship would exist yet, but they had to call it Dawn, something Dawn. Just to call, to be like, hey, look, it's like Forward Unto Dawn from the games. Just shut up. Like, there is nothing at this point that they could do that could win back at least my appreciation and my understanding of this game. Like, there's nothing that they could do to win me over. Like, literally nothing. Or at the very least, there's nothing that I could think of. I mean, maybe the Flood coming in, like, just destroying everything. That's really it. Doing the Flood justice would maybe, but I don't think they can. I don't think these writers are capable. Just capable. I don't think they're capable at all. So the Master Chief gets arrested. Halsey takes the artifact, And Master Chief is sitting in a cell, and Halsey comes in and starts asking him, like, hey, you know, what happened? Why'd you do these things? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, oh, I think I'm changing. This and that, this and that, that and this, these and those. And then and then they show their stupidity by showing Short Round again. And Vishnu, is that his name? The guy who's now in charge of Madrigal. He's giving some big speech. I don't care about Madrigal. I don't care about Vishnu. I don't care about Short Round. I don't care. Yeah. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. When Short Round walks into the crazy dude's cell, he is like, oh, who are you? Who are you? Oh, wow. And he's just looking at her so freaking amazed. Not paying any attention to the Master Chief, which is kind of this show. And then it cuts to the human working with the Covenant. And she's getting undressed, which, I mean... I mean, okay, first off, yeah, she's hot. But it's like, Halo's not about sex appeal. Halo doesn't have naked women on it. And no, Cortana doesn't count. She's a computer program. She doesn't have, Cortana doesn't count. So no, it's not a valid argument in my opinion. So no, they shouldn't have her getting naked on the show, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that. But yeah, there shouldn't be any nudity in Halo. My God. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was probably the best scene in the episode, but still, shit, it shouldn't be in the episode. Oh, man. So then it cuts to... Okay, so I'm wondering, I don't get what they're doing with Cortana on here. It's like they're making a clone of her, of Dr. Halsey. And I guess, I don't know if, that's going to be Cortana. I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they have a clone of Halsey. They shouldn't. It's a Flash clone. First off, it's a Flash clone. So, as I mentioned, in the last video, it should die within a few months of it being, born or fully grown or whatever. So, I don't know. She's just saying, and the episode ends with the clone's eyes opening. Like anybody gives a shit. What's the clone gonna do? Replace Halsey? No one cares. I don't care. And yeah, so yeah, that's the end of the episode. That's it. What are my thoughts? It still sucks. I mentioned last video that I probably wouldn't be watching this show. I probably wouldn't be watching the show if I wasn't reviewing it. Honestly, that's not true. I would probably still watch this show even if I wasn't reviewing it, just because I'm such a huge fan of Halo, and I have to see what they're gonna do, what they're doing with it, and because like I mentioned, there are few and far between moments where they do have something cool. I don't think there was anything in this episode. Mainly it was the first 20 or 15-20 minutes of the first episode, where they showed the battle and the combat and stuff like that, and Master Chief being the Master Chief. But since then he's just been the Master Chef. You know? He's just sucks. They had no battles, no combat. That'd be like a level in Halo. That's like having a level in Halo that's just exposition and just dialogue. And no, I know someone's gonna say they do have levels in Halo that are just, those don't count. I'm sorry, but they don't. Those do not count. Or if they do, they're better than this. Okay, you know what? I take that back. They have levels in Halo that usually at the start and at the end that are just, you kind of just exposition and just talking. And they are 10 times better than this. They're 10 times better than something that is 10 times better than this. There's astronomically. So yeah, this show sucks. I can't believe it. So yeah, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say about this. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share. It really helps my channel out. I really appreciate everyone who is coming out and supporting me and watching my videos. If you didn't like this video, thank you for watching this long, and let me know why. Tell me what you think. How I could do better and how I could improve. Oh man. So yeah, that's all. I'm about to go play Halo and watch an actually good story. Goodbye, everybody.